Good afternoon and welcome to Moments with Melinda. I am your host, Melinda Moulton. Thank you for being with us today. And I have as my guest, Elaine Haney. How are you, Elaine?
I am doing great, Melinda. So nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on my show. So let me give you a little idea of who Elaine Haney is for any of you out there who don't know her. Elaine Haney serves as an Essex Junction City Councilor, past Executive Director of Emerge Vermont, and past member of the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission. Elaine worked for the Vermont Agency of Commerce and Community Development and has been deeply involved in statewide and regional development projects and grants. She also served as the director of the Chancellor's Office of the Vermont State Colleges System. Elaine is running this year as a candidate for the Vermont Senate.
Yes.
Thank you for so much being here. That's so brave of you.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
But let's talk about your life. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Talk to us a little bit about your childhood growing up.
So I grew up in New Jersey. I moved here to Vermont in 1994. But I was the youngest of 7 kids, and my father was a police officer, and my mom stayed at home with us, all of us kids, and there were a lot of us in one little house with one bathroom and a dog. So it was a classic New Jersey upbringing, I think, and moved to Vermont in '94 and started out living up there in St. Albans Town. Moved to Essex Junction when I was, the kids were getting ready to go to kindergarten, so in 2000, we moved to Essex Junction.
So you were the youngest sibling?
Yes.
The baby of the family?
Yes, and
Lucky
I am still referred to that by my older
spoiled,
siblings.
I'll bet. So now, Elaine, who in your childhood had the greatest impact on the future path of yours as a public servant and humanitarian?
Well, you know, I think part of the fact that my father was a police officer, you know, that's a public servant, 100%. And even though I was a very little kid at the time, I remember being very proud of my dad for being a police officer. And my mom was somebody who she did some election, she worked at the polls and things when I was little. But I think the person who had the most influence on me was actually my maternal grandmother, whom we called Nanny. She was one of those women, this is family lore, I'm pretty sure it's true, but she was one of those phone operators who wore roller skates. And, you know, back in the day with the headset and plugging stuff in. But she was a very independent lady, and she just did whatever she wanted. But also we adored her, all of us did. And she brought so much fun into our lives and was just such a, she was just entirely authentic and herself, and I loved her and always wanted to be like her.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
A phone operator on roller skates.
On roller skates.
Well, now
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Well, I'm going to say that's going to lead into another question I have for you of being on roller skates. So you moved to Essex Junction in 2000, and you jumped right into public service. So talk to us about some of the community projects that you were involved in during this time.
Well, I started out on the PTO, which is where a lot of people start out when they're volunteering for their community. Their kids are in school, so they join the PTO. But some of the things that I helped work on, I thought were so fun and so necessary. Our farmers market actually was one of the best ones. It was a small group of folks who were in a particular neighborhood of Essex Junction that was a little sketchy and had some police activity. And so they wanted to bring people downtown and bring people to the neighborhood to get rid of that unsavory activity. And so a farmers market was one of the things that we came up with. And it lasted, I want to say, for 5 or 6 years. It became hugely popular. And it was really great to just see all of the different talents of every person who stepped forward to help and how we brought them all together to do this one big thing. And the other really big thing that I got involved with in Essex Junction was, at the time I was on the select board, was the merger vote. And, you know, the merger vote 1, merger vote 2, and then separation vote, and now we are 2 separate municipalities. But that was a 10-year process, and it taught me that getting involved in your community is not a one-off thing. It's a long game. And if you want to bring change to your world, you have to be committed, and you have to be willing to come to the meetings and do the work and roll up your sleeves. So I am forever grateful to my community for providing me with these opportunities to become so involved and to make good things happen.
And that was before you became a city councilor, right?
Yes and no. I started out as a village trustee because Essex Junction was a village. So I did that for 2 terms, and then I ran for the town select board because as a village resident, I was also a town resident. So I became a town select board, and I served simultaneously on both boards for 1 year. And then when I became chair of the select board, I stepped down from the trustees. And then after I lost my election, of my re-election to the select board by 2 votes.
2 votes.
That was a rough one.
Oh, dear heavens.
I became, a year later, I became a city councilor in Essex Junction. So it's kind of convoluted, but technically all the same community.
That's a lot of good stuff. So let's talk to my viewers a little bit about Essex Junction and what makes this town so special. I personally have been relating a lot with the Essex experience and the incredible work of the Edelmans.
Yeah.
So Essex is such a cool town. Talk to us a little bit about what makes it so special.
You know, Essex is at the crossroads of a lot of things. We are off of the Cirque. We have one of the busiest intersections in the state, 5 corners. We have the busiest Amtrak station outside of Burlington, and we have the bus station. So like it's a crossroads for many, many people. It's where it all comes together.
That's why it's called Junction.
Yes, it is. The Essex experience is a great example. Like they've had a vision for years of filling that mall with local businesses. And like my bookstore that I used to own was a local business in that mall. And it took many, many, many years because folks remember it as the outlets. And now it is all local businesses. It's an amazing place, and it's really a great center.
It is an incredible, and the movie theater, the whole thing. I mean, it's just
all those restaurants.
It's incredible.
And there was an article in 7 Days the other day that Homeport is opening a kitchen store.
Another one.
So
not
excited.
leaving Church Street, folks.
Nope. Used to be a kitchen store at the Experience. It went away years ago, so now we'll have another locally owned kitchen store.
Oh, I love it.
It's going to be so great.
So I want to step into a part of your life that many people may not know about you. This goes back to your grandmother, which I'm so glad you brought that up. You for years were a skater, a roller skater.
Yes.
Then a referee for the Green Mountain Roller Derby. Share a bit with us about your life as a black ice brawler. Come on, woman. That's amazing.
I have a friend who used to cut my hair for years, and she joined Green Mountain Roller Derby. And she said to me, come watch my game.
Did you skate as a child?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay,
yeah,
a little bit.
Nothing special.
So she invited you to...
I went to watch the game, and at the end of it, I said to myself, if I don't do this, I will regret it for the rest of my life. It just impressed me so much with the physicality and the speed and
the sweat.
So
women.
I joined. And I started out as a referee for a year, and then I thought, okay, now I have to sign up for the team. I have to try out. I have to see if I have it. See if I can do it. And I got on the B team, so I became a black ice brawler. And I skated with the B team for a full season. And we traveled. We went all over New England, traveling and playing against other teams. We did tournaments away, and we did tournaments at home. And it was just one of the most important experiences of my life. I met some of the most incredible people there, and I also came to understand the importance of aggression for women in sports. How often are women encouraged to be aggressive? They're not. But in roller derby, you have to be. And you have to have confidence in your body.
And you bang women, don't you? I mean, you go around
and
around and around on a roller.
That's right. And the trust that's developed amongst the team because you are basically hitting each other as you're and helping each other as you're going around. It was a real formative experience. My only injury was actually before I even started on the team. I was doing a bike path skate with them, and I hit some gravel and hyperextended my elbow. But the bruise was magnificent, and I got a lot of crap for that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call you the black. So black ice, though, that's wild. Black ice brawler.
Yeah.
That's fabulous, and it's probably good for running for public office.
I've
to
told
be a bit
people
of a
about it, and they really like to hear that story.
So one of the things that a lot of my viewers know about you is that you ran Emerge Vermont as their executive director. So share with my viewers the mission and goals of Emerge and how this organization helped elect so many women to public office and how it helped to direct you in your future politics? Because that was a big part of your life.
It was a huge part of my life. So the mission of Emerge Vermont was to recruit and train Democratic women to run for office and support them with a powerful network. So I ran a cohort-based training program where we'd have 25 or so women over the course of several months, and we would teach them the nuts and bolts of running for office. And the cohesion in the cohort amongst the women that were there led to this amazing outpouring of support. And so class members would run for office and other class members would be their campaign staff. They would donate, they would show up at events and provide support. And it was just incredibly effective to provide these women with the skills and the network. And you know, we have moved the Vermont legislature to 45% women,
That's
which
incredible.
is the highest it has ever been. It is now down to 42 because, as you know, turnover happens. But we've shown that it can be done. Now we have our first woman congressperson elected from Vermont. She's an Emerge alum. Our attorney general, the first elected
So
woman.
Becca Ballant was an Emerge alum?
First graduating class.
Stop.
Yeah. Sarah Copeland Hanses. Molly Gray.
Molly
you know,
Gray.
So
Oh my God.
all of these people,
Came
Jill
through the program,
Kowinski,
Jill.
Ruth Hardy, like all of these incredibly prominent, talented, dedicated public servants
Came through the program.
servants got their start.
And so
got
how
the
many
skills.
years? How many years was Emerge?
I was with Emerge for about 5 years. Emerge started in 2013.
With Madeline Kunin.
Madeline Kunin, yeah, she
and
founded it.
now Emerge Vermont no longer exists.
Emerge Vermont only exists as sort of the name, and they have shifted to a regional model. And so at some point they will hire a regional director, but they will be responsible for all of New England, not just Vermont.
Because it is a national organization.
It is,
Right?
yes.
So just 2 years ago in 2024, you were elected to a 4-year term as one of 2 national committee members representing Vermont on the Democratic National Committee.
Yes.
And you were also a member of the DNC Women's Caucus, Rural Council, and Poverty Council.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that work.
That work is, the way I see it is, I am responsible for connecting Vermonters to the National Democratic Party. So I attend the meetings at, you know, they move around the country and we do party business. We vote on a lot of resolutions and such. But I also help get the message of Vermont up to Washington, or not Washington, but the national DNC. So for example, there's a group of people here in Vermont who are very concerned about the messaging that is coming from the DNC. Like it's not enough. Like
Right now?
Yes.
At this moment?
What are we doing to change the moment? And they're worried about that. So they sent a letter and they asked me to get it up to the DNC. So I sent that on. And, you know, it's really like
What did you
being a-
say?
Well, I shared the letter with them
Okay.
because it's their letter and
it's
their
their letter,
message,
okay.
but I got it up to the leadership, the political director of the DNC, because they need to know what people are thinking on the ground in the 50 states and the
you hear
7
back?
territories. I did hear back.
What'd they say?
And well, we're planning a Zoom. They're going to come together so that they can have a conversation. And that's a really important thing. Like it's kind of like being a conduit.
You're the
from-
liaison
Exactly.
between the people and the DNC.
And when we have to vote on positions and platforms and policies at the DNC level, I can know what Vermonters are thinking and cast my votes based on that.
Fantastic. So you are running for state senate.
I am.
And I want to share just a little bit about some of your service over the years. You've served in so many important and vital organizations. The Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, serving on their executive committee, and you chaired the board of Channel 17.
Yes,
This
right here.
organization right here, CCTV Productions, which produces this show. Yep. You have served on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns,
Yep.
on the Equity Advisor Committee,
Yep.
and the list goes on. So what draws you to your tremendous commitment to serving Vermont in so many of these capacities that support equity, women, rural life, the state's economy, and how will you bring that experience to the Vermont Senate?
You know, each volunteer commitment I've made has been both to, for several reasons. One is to make sure my community of Essex Junction was at the table, and also to learn how our municipality works, how our county works, how the systems we depend on work. And honestly, if volunteers like me aren't at the table, they don't work. So I feel it's a part of a civic responsibility to be a person who helps move the machinery of government so that we all have the Vermont that we know and love. And I think every successive committee that I've served on has helped me better understand the system of Vermont government. And I also worked for the state of Vermont, and that was another piece of the puzzle for me. And I'm a big believer in systems, complex systems change. And the more I know about the system, the more I understand how difficult it is to change it, but also how I might be able to pull which lever, how to insert myself in various places to make change happen. And so I'm going to bring that perspective to the Senate, where I have a fairly well-rounded understanding of how it works. And so maybe when conversations are happening about how to fix this or how to change that, I can add to that conversation and make it happen that much faster or in a more effective way.
You have tremendous experience.
Thank you.
I mean, truly, tremendous experience. So talk to my viewers about your vision for Vermont and the issues that you feel are the most compelling and which you will focus on if you are elected to serve in the Vermont Senate.
You know, we all live in Vermont because we absolutely love it. And it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you were born here or you moved here. I want Vermont to remain that way for everyone who's here. But right now there are way, way, way too many people who are saying, I'm afraid I can't afford to live here. I'm not sure I can stay in this place that I love. So I want to do everything I can. You heard me say about pulling levers. What are the different things we can do to make it possible for us to stay here? Like my 3 kids all live down in Boston and DC, like they don't live here anymore. And I don't know that they could afford to come back. So we have to really work on the basics to make sure that we can all afford to live here. By basics, I mean our property taxes, which is tied to our education funding discussion that's really happening right now. The cost of health care here in Vermont, the cost of utilities, and the ability for employers to keep the number of employees they need and to get the supplies they need and to get the permits that they need. It's so complicated and so expensive that we're making it hard for everybody to make a living here. So I'm hoping to have conversations and make change on the things that make it possible to live in Vermont.
Well, good luck on that. That is a lot, but you're a systems person. So what do you feel is the top most important issue facing Vermont today, and how would you go about helping to solve it?
Well, I know I only get to say one top thing.
One top thing, but you can, one top thing. Or
I think we need, to me there are 3, which is education funding, healthcare, and housing. However, I think if we tackled healthcare first, that will have an impact on the other 2, because healthcare premiums are the single largest driver of budget increases for schools and municipalities. So if we are reducing healthcare premiums, then our property taxes will have an immediate reduction because that huge piece of the budget is going to be less.
So how do we bring down insurance costs, health insurance costs? I mean, do you support universal health care?
I support investigating universal primary care.
Which is actually in the legislature right now.
And we've
talked to my viewers a little bit about that.
We've tried universal health care in the past under the Shumlin administration, and the result was that we realized we're too small. Our market is too small, so we don't have the scale to do universal health care. But primary care, things like vaccinations,
like
welfare
Dr.
visits,
Dinosaur.
Dr. Dinosaur,
for
those kinds of things.
People like you and me.
For seniors, for families with young children. If we could take care of those expenses, I think, because that's where most Vermonters are, is with the primary care. And maybe we could include dentists and dental and vision, because our seniors, like dental and vision is one of the most important things, and Medicare doesn't even cover any of it.
It's terrible.
So what can we do to make those basic healthcare needs met, so that if the cost of healthcare is lower, there is more funding available in families to cover the cost of their housing.
So what about income inequality here in Vermont? I mean, this is a big Bernie issue. It's been his issue for 50 years, but I mean, you're right. I mean, the wealthy can afford to live in Vermont, but if you don't have money, it's a real struggle. I mean, what do you say to those people?
I am very worried about the trajectory we're on, where it seems like that whole 2 Vermonts that we hear about. There's the real Vermont where Vermonters live, and then there's the postage stamp Vermont, where people come skiing on the weekend. And the folks who support the people who come skiing can't afford to live in their own towns. What I was talking about earlier, like focusing on affordability of property taxes, healthcare, and housing, are the things that will make it easier for regular Vermonters like us to live here.
But how do we bring those costs down? What are your, I know you have to think about this, but you are strategic.
Like I said, I think addressing the healthcare cost is going to be the #1 thing, like the most immediate thing we can do.
And that's insurance or the actual cost when you go to the hospital?
Both.
I mean, both.
Both. Because, there's people who, you go for an MRI at UVM Medical Center and it's like $5,000 or $6,000, but you go to Williston and it's like $2,000. So how about some more competition, more services outside the hospital that Vermonters can access without having to drive an hour and a half to Copley Hospital because it's cheaper there?
Well, UVM has been buying up all the primary care.
Right. So more competition in the healthcare service area would be, I think, something that would help reduce costs and make it easier.
There is the Colchester Clinic, the women who started the Colchester Clinic.
That's right.
And
that's
a whole nother conversation.
That was a whole.
But they had to fight for that.
They fought for it.
They fought against lots of lawyers. I was
right.
Yeah.
We can't be anti-competitive.
So how do we do? I mean, that's going to be a big one. That's a monopoly.
Yeah.
It is a monopoly. So thank you for that. Thank you for your vision on that. So you are a workhorse, a powerhouse, a deeply engaged and active woman who has contributed so much of your mind, your soul, and your heart to the state of Vermont.
Thank you.
So what keeps you going? And what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me going is, I think it's my obligation to contribute the way I contribute. The work is done by the people who show up. And we often hear the phrase like, well, the usual suspects show up to do the work, or 20% of people do 80% of the work. And that's pretty true. But we all need to contribute. Society and civil society and local government do not work without people contributing. So that's like, I feel personally motivated and obligated to make my community a better place. What keeps me up at night is the stuff happening at the national level.
Talk about that.
I am deeply concerned about the SAVE Act, which is supposed to save elections from waste, fraud, and abuse, which it's completely fabricated. It is meant to disenfranchise as many people as possible. I am deeply concerned about
Well, I heard Meryl Streep on the Colbert show last night, and she said that if you're a married woman, you need to go and find your birth certificate with your maiden name, because if you go to vote, if you can't prove what your maiden name was, they will not allow you to vote. So it's disenfranchising women, people of color, right?
Yes.
The indigenous, the Latino. I mean, it's a disenfranchising.
And also low-income people who can't afford to purchase the kinds of ID that people
or can't find their birth certificates. I mean, it's like, so
it's really awful.
So what do you think is going to happen? I don't think it's going to pass.
I take hope. I don't think it's going to pass the U.S. Senate. I don't think they have the votes, and I don't think the Republicans are willing to end the filibuster to accomplish that, because that will bite them in the end if they end the filibuster, because the Democrats will be able to take advantage of that at some future time.
Absolutely.
I'm taking hope in our state secretaries of state and our state attorneys general, who are all armoring up to prevent these kinds, like this ridiculous executive order about mail-in balloting that the president issued yesterday.
I mean, that whole thing. I mean,
it's just like not even constitutional. So like I see that at the state level, attorneys general and secretaries of state are teaming up.
And our judges are stepping up.
Judges are stepping up.
And by the way, the Supreme Court stepped up on the tariff. So do you believe we will have fair elections in November?
I know Vermont certainly will. I am concerned about other states where, this executive order that he issued the other day, it doesn't even have to actually be legal, because what it does is it sows doubt. And there will be Republican states with Republican election officials who are going to try to follow what he said, and they're going to disenfranchise people as a result. And it'll be spotty, and it'll be confusing, and it will change the numbers. It could affect the turnout. It could affect the results, and that's what concerns me.
but his poll numbers are they're going down.
They're tanking. I anticipate
And I think
a decent result for
the outcome
Democrats.
is going to be
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah.
So what words of wisdom can you give my viewers to help alleviate their tremendous fears about the future for their children and children's children? And these are deeply trying times. Elaine, what are your words of wisdom?
You know, I actually get asked that fairly often, and I don't know if I can alleviate concerns for the children's and children's children. However, whenever someone says, like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to go, I'm paralyzed, what do I do? Local, local, local. Make your community the very best place it can be. Because if you know your neighbors and you're helping each other, it can spread. And you can know that the immediate universe that you're in and the people you care about the most are okay. And that doesn't sound like a big solution, but if everybody does that, or a large swath of the population does that, we will keep grounded in reality, grounded in community, and we will continue to care for each other, which is the basis of what makes Vermont, our towns, our families, what they are. So I would say keep it local, don't get overwhelmed, and just one step at a time, doing one kind thing at a time.
And step up and run maybe for public office.
Run for office, get on that
on the
committee.
school board.
And you take small bites, like go to Green Up Day.
Cemetery committee.
Right, go to Green Up Day, pick up garbage. That's like a 1-day, 2-hour commitment. Start there.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
So stay involved, stay engaged. Well, Elaine Haney, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you,
I wish you the
Melinda.
best.
This was great.
Thank you so much for joining me today on my show.
Thank you. It
I really
was an honor
appreciate
to
it.
be here.
And to my viewers, I want to wish you a good day and thank you for tuning in, and I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Goodbye.